Dornman Port has finally arrived in Genshin Impact. It's the second expansion to Mondstadt, taking 1,933 days, that's 5 years, 3 months, 17 days, to arrive after the first Mondstadt expansion, Dragon Spy. It's a curious thing, we've known about Dornman Port since the 1.x versions, yet northern Mondstadt was made to be nothing but mountains and this one lake. Does that mean the port lies beyond the mountain range? Apparently not, because the mountain range became Dornman Port. This wide shot from atop Stormterror's lair shows just how drastic this change is. And we're here to take a closer look, by exploring and comparing it to the mountain range that existed beyond the Paimon barrier for over 5 years. Let's begin with a few notable spots at the map boundary prior to 6.5. First, this pond and wall to the west of Stormterror's lair. Whatever this place is supposed to be, perhaps a dam, it remains unchanged. Just north of there, this road turned rubble atop a cliff overlooks a lake. An island sits in the middle, and in the distance are grassy fields, a mountain, and a random sand pit. There's also an underground cavern nearby that could be entered by pushing out of bounds a bit. The cave exits below the water. Those caves have been sealed up in 6.5, and both the lake and island underwent massive changes. The island no longer remains, the lake having shrunk with the addition of a waterfall that pours into the ocean. And the sand pit? Well, part of it remains, because it was enormous, but it is now completely submerged. Lastly, we have the river running north off Cider Lake. From the cliffs of Bright Crown Canyon, we can see that this has changed considerably. Prior to 6.5, the river ran past the Paimon barrier and widened into a small lake surrounded by grassy fields. After 6.5, the river still runs north, but it widens into an ocean. The fields that used to exist to its north and east, as well as the mountains, are now water. Let's take a side-by-side walkthrough of it all, which focuses on this area of the map, beginning at the Shrine of Depths near the Anemo Hypostasis. Though there's a resemblance, it's quite the drastic change. The whole area has become ocean. There used to be mountains that stretched ever onward. None of that remains. The ocean northeast of the Anemo Hypostasis more than doubled in size to consume everything. Which makes me wonder if things below the water's surface have also changed. Out of bounds, far north of the Anemo Hypostasis, is where the water plane begins prior to 6.5. I'm able to slip underwater and explore the ocean floor, which goes really, really far down. It's a peculiar area, mostly flat, but there are odd mounds like this in places, as well as one spot with elevated land. This goes on all the way to the far east of Mondstadt, and half of it no longer exists in version 6.5. It's been cut clean in half. with the more interesting section that contained the bits of odd land having been deleted. Those blotches in the sky are new mountain textures. In place of the removed half, albeit at a much higher elevation, is a gigantic stretch of dark, bumpy sand that makes up the ocean floor surrounding Dornman Port. By the way, these mountain textures are the ones we saw way in the sky just a moment ago. Save for the expected patches of unmatching terrain, not much is out here. And if you wondered what was on those floating chunks of land north of the new area, well, there's nothing, really, though it was cool to climb them. Alright, we've explored the perimeter of the new area, comparing it to what used to be there. Now let's actually travel into it and check a short list of things. I have a number of pins on my map that were used to pinpoint specific landmarks or to measure their size. The stars prior to 6.5 form the continuation of Cider Lake. How accurate is its placement? We know it opened up into the ocean, but its western edges are fairly consistent to the placeholder lake. The quest pins are the giant mountains that overlooked the lake. Those are gone, replaced by ocean. There is nothing notable at either location, although the one further south kinda lines up with the edge of a small cliff. Quite the downgrade in size. Here's the view from one of them prior to its removal. Rather grand. There's also this giant hill I marked with a hook pin. Got some cool shots from atop it, and it was probably my favorite location out here. This hill turned into the giant peak that the old sanatorium stands on, or it turned into the lighthouse atop that rock near Dornman Port. Really, it's between the two, but the hill was large enough that it encompassed both. Okay, so are there any other landmarks that didn't turn into water? Oddly enough, no, not really. All major landmarks prior to 6.5 were in the area that turned into water. And all major landmarks after 6.5, meaning Dornman Port and its surroundings, are located in the area that was nothing but grasslands and mountain textures. Often in Genshin, there are some kind of placeholder assets in future explorable areas, ones that can be seen a version or two prior to release. There was the tower in East Fontaine, as well as the giant willow that I'm not even sure could be seen prior to its release without using glitches. In version 3.0, we all knew the Mausoleum of King Deshret was on the horizon. But did you know that placeholder assets for Kajnesut also existed? That the giant pit was there, with stairs and an archway? Dornman Port had none of that because the area it now occupies was part of the game since version 1.0. And unlike Dragonspine, the devs obviously had no plans to release the port so early. 1,933 days after Dragonspine, Northern Mondstadt underwent extreme terraforming over a single maintenance, making Dornman Port more akin to a new nation releasing, rather than an expansion to an existing one. Or maybe Klee was busy blowing up mountains during maintenance. That'd be on point for her. And that is Dornman Port before and after version 6.5. Its release means more of the original map's out-of-bounds terrain is gone. The only remaining are those highlighted. This is Moosashi, signing off. Till next time.